So good morning. Today is the first Sunday of the month, so we are back to Between Heaven and Earth. We are actually covering the last two chapters today, but before we go there, let's go over the last four chapters. Last month I wasn't here, so I couldn't give you the overview. Elmo conducted the studies. So on chapter 35, Clarencio, the mentor, after a brief visit to Zulmira, who was bedridden, goes to Mario Silva's house with the intention of guiding him to Antonina's residence. Mario, opening up to Antonina, receives encouragement from her fraternal understanding and promising to assist him. She suggests that they both visit the home of Amaro and Zulmira. On chapter 36, Mario, accompanied by Antonina and her son, visits the home of Evelina's father, Amaro. Zulmira receives an examination from her daughter, who, unable to achieve a beneficial reaction with the treatment applied, decides to perform a blood transfusion. Mario seizes the opportunity and offers himself as a donor. Mario feels his former resentment towards Amaro dissipate, and Zulmira experiences a sense of relief as she finds, as Mario finds himself freed from the burden of guilt caused by Julio's death. So last month with Elmo, you studied chapter 37, where Zulmira, partially detached from her physical body, is taken to the Lar of Benson, home of blessing, to reunite with her discarnated son, Julio. There she receives clarifications that brings immense comfort to her heart. And then she awakens reanimated, and is surrounded by the affection and care of Antonina, who alongside Lisbela, the daughter, has come to her aid. And then on chapter 38, Amaro's family is now bound by a solid friendship with Mario Silva, Antonina, and her children. And in a conversation with Mario, Amaro encourages him to get married with Antonina. And then we have the wedding. The spiritual friends of the couple are present at the wedding ceremony of Mario and Antonina. And for the last time, this graphic here showing who is who. Mario was Esteves in the end of the 19th century. Antonina was Lola. Leonardo, Antonina's grandfather. Antonina had 4 children, 1 discarnated. That's when we first meet her in the book. Amaro, who was Armando in the past, and Julio, who was also Julio in the past, are connected to Zulmira, who was Lina in the past also. So Armando, Julio, and Mario / Esteves, Armando / Amaro, were all connected to Zulmira, Lina, through love and betrayal and all these things. And then we have Odila, who was the first wife of Amaro. Okay, so that's the last that we are going to have to pay attention to this. Now let's go back to the book for the last couple of chapters. Zoraida, can you read for us?
Yes, of course, John.
Thank you.
Okay. 39, Thoughts. About 1 month after Silvia's wedding, we were asked one night by Odilia to go get Zulmira and Antonina for a private meeting at La de Bacao. Both of them looked enraptured outside their physical bodies. Happily holding hands, they contemplated heaven and earth, touched with sublime hope. A small group of friends were waiting for us at Baldina's home in captivating displays of affection and appreciation. Sister Clara was one of the distinguished guests. Upon contact with the environment of genuine fraternity, the 2 women yield to the ecstasy of peace and joy. Their inner exaltation was portrayed so purely on their faces that it was as if they had entered heaven itself. Loving words and comforting emotions were being exchanged in the large room, which Blandina had decorated with flowers. Love-filled remarks were filling the conversation when Antonina, who was more lucid than Zumila, asked about the reason for the blessing they were receiving.
Acknowledgement flooded their hearts like the smell of perfume wafting from its vial.
Clara caressed her lightly and explained in motherly fashion, "My daughters, on life's pathway we go through times of sowing and phases of reaping. Up to this point on your missions as women, time has provided you with shocks and enigmas that were planted long ago. With humility and faith, with a wonderful outlook and moral values, you have overcome the ordish conflicts that frustrated your highest aspirations. Those were dark days of the past reflected in the present, but now your path would be much more peaceful. The patience to which you have been devoted has prevented the formation of clouds of rebelliousness, and the sky is once again bright and cheerful. It is as if the day has been reborn, resplendent with light. The field of existence is in need of more work, and it is time for sowing." The conversation in the room stopped suddenly. Everyone wanted to hear what Clara was saying. Their silence meant that she was regarded as the incarnation of wisdom. After a brief pause, she continued, "Now that the opportunity favors renewal, we need to know how to reconstruct our destiny. We mustn't neglect it. Life is reduced to a sorrow heap of darkness if it isn't filled with toil that is run from the old marketplace of lamentation, where inactivity sells its better fruits. But to ascend the ladder of our evolution, we have to bathe our spirit each day in the living spring of love, love that is rewarded with joy of giving. The Heavenly Father is now omnipresent to the love that saturates the universe. Divine sentiment is the invisible current in which all worlds and beings are kept in balance. From the throne of magnificence flows an eternal fountainhead that sustains the angel in the heights and feeds the worm deep in the earth. Woman is a goblet that all-wise one has filled most intensely with the miraculous water of love so that life may be exalted. My sisters, let us be faithful to our mandate. On many occasions, if we are stuck in the mud of selfishness or the bird lime
of hatred, we pollute the sacred liquid and turn it into a destructive poison. Let us be cautious.
The price of true peace lies in sacrificing our very lives. There can be no sublimation without renunciation in the castle of the soul, just as there can be no purification of the metal in the furnace without the fire of refinement. Clara looked at Antonina in a particular way and added, "Daughter, our Sumilas needs no further incursion into the past to comprehend the holy duty of sheltering little Julio within the material sanctuary." We grasped the fact that Clara had preceded the need for Zumila's mental rest after the end of her long ordeal of preserving her own health and was trying to share her any mnemonic exertion.
Thanks, Zoraida.
Okay.
Okay, so these last two chapters is just more of a wrap-up of everything that happened in the book. There is not much to comment. Sister Clara first. They are in the spiritual world, right? It's 1 month after Mario and Antonina got married. And Odila, in the spiritual world, goes to get Zulmira and Antonina incarnated and sleeping to a private meeting at Larda Benson, where Julio is, the kid that discarnated twice. They were happy to be outside their physical body. They were touched with hope. Sister Clara, if you remember, when Clarencio first met and was trying to take Odila away from the obsessing process that she was immersed in with Zulmira, Clarencio asked Sister Clara to do the work. He said that it needed to be someone full of love, and he was not completely prepared. And Andre Luiz was very surprised to learn that his mentor was not fully capable of removing the obsessed Odila from Zulmira's The Obsessed. And Clarencio explains only through love, deep love. So we know that Sister Clara is a more evolved spirit. So they are having the conversation. It's interesting when Andre Luiz says that Antonina was more lucid than Zulmira. This is because Antonina is more spiritually evolved, as we've seen in the book. She struggled in the previous incarnation with this, as the others struggled. But Antonina, during this life, through the struggles, the loss of the husband, the loss of the son, through the faith and learning that she went through this incarnation, she was clearly more spiritually evolved than Zulmira, who was still struggling to deal with we went through the marriage that she had. She was jealous of the son, Julio, allowed him to drown, and then she receives him as a son, and he dies very early. So she's clearly still not spiritually evolved enough to be lucid in the spiritual world as much as Antonina. I think it's important that we stress the difference here. And then Sister Clara starts explaining what happened to them, and she talks about the dark days of the past, but how you need to renew, and that the path in the future will be more peaceful, that the patients that they carry their lives with all the struggles, they manage to carry their lives with patience, especially Antonina, and it has prevented clouds of rebelliousness, and it's a brightened day now. If she says, if her day has been reborn, resplendent with light. But then she, after a pause, she says, the opportunity for renewal, we need to know how to reconstruct our destiny. Meaning, we have to focus, not neglect it. To ascend the ladder of evolution, we need to take care of us every day with love that is rewarded with the joy of giving, not a selfish love, but love for others, practicing charity towards others. And then she mentions that women is a goblet that God has filled most intensely with the miraculous water of love, so that life might be exalted. Meaning, the motherhood is the characteristic that brings a different type of love, a different focus on women on their eternal journey as they evolve as a spirit. And then she asks them to be faithful to the mandate, to focus on the work they have ahead of them. The price of true peace lies in sacrificing our very lives, meaning to find true peace, we need to dedicate our life to the assistance and help to those in need. There can be no sublimation without renunciation in the castle of the soul. And then she looks at Antonina and tells Antonina that it's enough for Zulmira. She doesn't need to go to the past because she's not ready for it. She has to receive little Julio within the maternal sanctuary, and Zulmira needs rest, but she's going to address Antonina's past directly with her, and that's what we are going to see. Okay?
Okay.
Elmo, any additional comments here?
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no comment.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's
Okay.
continue.
Our friend here, she continued, indicating Zumila with a look, is aware of the fact that motherhood awaits her again in a short time. But what about you? With the radiant kindness that normally marked her face, she emphasized, do you remember your former experiences? And are you aware of the motives that inspired you to remarry? In light of the surprise on Antonina's face, Clara, with a gesture familiar to us from Clarenzo's magnetic procedures, lightly caressed her brow and repeated, remember, remember. Enabled by Sister Clara's power, certain centers of her memory, Antonina went pale and exclaimed, controlling her emotions, yes, I am the singer. I can see it all. The battles in Paraguay, a small farm in Luque, the abandoned family, Jose Estevez, today's Mario. Yes, I can see the reason for my second nuptials.
With affliction in her eyes, she asked,
And Leonardo, where's Leonardo, the poor thing? There's no need to dig deeper into your memories, responded Clara. This isn't a science lab, but a fraternal get-together. You only need to remember. Then, turning her attention to both women, she continued, in a short while, you will both be called to a new endeavor in the apostolate of motherhood. Zumira will receive our Julio in the conch shell and of her heart and you. Antonina will restore Leonardo Paez, your grandfather and partner in destiny, to the treasure of an earthly body. Within the domestic sanctuary, unruly affections are recomposed so that we can proceed into the future, into the sunshine of happiness. My daughters, no one evolves without balancing their accounts with the past. So let us pay the debts that have been kept us prisoner in the lower circles of life, using our time of reincarceration for redemption, for improving ourselves still more. Let us love, perfecting ourselves. Let us see the human home as the road to our regeneration. The family is a microcosm of redemptive obligations in which we live to serve the greater family that comprises all humankind. Family members in need of tolerance and caring are a difficult point that we have to overcome by using them to increase our humility and comprehension. A callous father, a mean husband, or a rebellious son symbolize beneficent battle lines where we can practice the utmost practice, tenderness, and devotion. Regarding our children especially, we mustn't forget that they belong to God and life above all else. In the physical realm, divine providence seals our memories when we are reborn, enveloping us with the renewing breath of blessed hope. That is why we need to remember that our children are always invaluable tides of existence that require our balance and discernment in all our decisions. To fulfill the grand task imposed on us by motherhood, we must understand that their physiological makeup is different than ours, and that they often require a type of happiness that is out of harmony with our own way of being. Hence,
we can unselfishly prepare them for the destiny they are called to fulfill.
enslaving love is like poison honey that entangles us in darkness. Let us keep our minds focused on justice so that our love may be a blessing that has the potential to instruct those around us in the school of wholesome labor. During a spontaneous pause, Zumila asked humbly, selfless benefactor, what is the best way for us to solve our problems? You have both overcome frightening days of spiritual crisis and have earned the chance to restructure your destinies. Now, let me repeat, it is time to sow. Let us seize this opportunity of reconnection. You are two powerful centers capable of working invaluable transformations in your families. Let us see friendship as fraternal understanding that tolerates and comprehends everything, that acts and helps to spread the highest good. In essence, being a neighbor or living together is a gift that the Lord grants us on behalf of our own readjustment. Because Sumila and Antonina wanted to ask more questions, Clara urged them, don't be afraid. Prayer is the invisible thread of our communion with the divine plan. And in the light of prayer, we shall all live together. In doubt, let's always prefer self-denial. Taking responsibility makes problem solving easier. She finished with a smile. Let's not forget the privilege of serving. Little Julio was brought into the room by a large cortege of gregarious children. Laughter and tears were mingled in praise to divine goodness. After a few joy-filled hours, we escorted the two mothers back to the physical realm for their sublime labor in their earthly homes.
Okay. So the conversation, Sister Clara's presentation continues, but then now she's addressing Antonina and and asking Antonina that what about her? She wanted to make Antonina aware of the need to receive also a son. And in this case, it's her grandfather, Leonardo, that we met earlier when they first arrived at Antonina's house for the first time, Clarencio with Andre Luiz and Hilario. They found an old, discarnated man, mentally disturbed, sitting in a sofa and staying there, mentioning that Antonina was the only one that remembered him, that he wanted to be close to her, but he was pretty much confused. Talks about the battles of the war in Paraguay. And then when Clara makes Antonina see her past, she remembers that she was the singer, Lola, and the farm in Luque, the family abandoned, José Esteves, that was Mario, right? Esteves. And she understands the need for her second marriage to Mario. She understands the sympathy towards each other that they had from the beginning, the natural attraction they felt for each other. She understands through her accessing her previous existence. Of course, when she wakes up, she's not going to remember that part, maybe some flashes, but that's how Clara is preparing her for receiving this son, the new son Leonardo, with Mario. She asks about Leonardo, and Clara says, enough. You only need to remember something, part of it. And then she continues talking about the necessity of Antonina to receive Leonardo as the son. And she says, very interesting here, no one evolves with balancing their accounts with the past. So we need to, that's why we always talk about this being a world of trials and atonements. Atonements is a readjustment with our past. If we don't readjust with our past, we cannot move forward. So she tells them to pay the debts that have kept them prisoner, meaning receiving the two boys as in a new life and taking care of them. She compares the time of incarnation as a time of incarceration. We are incarcerated in our physical bodies without remembrance of what happened before. And then she talks about the importance of family, and the importance of us dealing with difficult members of the family for our own learning. So she calls it beneficent battle lines, where we can practice the patience, tenderness, and devotion. A difficult father, a difficult husband, a difficult son, and the same way, difficult mother, difficult wife, or difficult daughter. They are all opportunities for us to practice patience, tenderness, and devotion. And then she talks that for us to remember that our children are children of God first and foremost. They do not belong to us, and they may have different journeys than we have, different psychological makeup, and they sometimes require a type of happiness that is different from our own happiness and our understanding of what happiness is. So we need to prepare ourselves unselfishly for their own destiny, that we cannot enslaving slave then. Okay. Zulmira asks how can they address their issues, and Clara continues talking about their friendship, that they must continue being together. Being a neighbor or living together is a gift the Lord grants us on behalf of our own readjustment. And tell them not to be afraid, to use prayer. So it's the thread with the divine plane. And in light of prayer, we all live together and always prefer self-denial. Taking responsibility makes problem solving easier. And always a reminder that she leaves us to not forget the privilege of serving. And then we see little Julio that was brought into the room by a large group of children, meaning he's no longer bedridden, which is where we found him before the previous incarnation, where he had a very difficult short incarnation with a lot of health issues and went back to the spiritual world, and he was a couple of years old. Now he's completely recovered, happy still as a child, and prepared for a new incarnation that he will be healthier to deal with his life. Okay? Anything here, Elmo?
No, I don't think so. Everything's so self-explanatory at this point.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So last chapter, chapter 40, in prayer.
In prayer. 1 year after Antonina's wedding, we all went to Amaro's house, Amaro's home, where we had so often met together amid prayer and expectation. Life had gone on as always. Julio and Leonardo had been reborn in peace, almost at the same time, bringing lofty plans of service into the world. Newly arrived on earth, they smiled innocently at us on their mothers' laps. Aware of the obligations, Amaro and Zulmira, Silva and Antonina continued close to one another, interlaced in fraternal understanding. The humble home was magnificently decorated with flowers and was overflowing with smiling friends. Lucas and Evelina were getting married. On the two planes, everything was hope, joy, peace, and love amongst incarnates and discarnates. The newlyweds gazed at each other in bliss and Cordelia as the home's priestess came and went, putting things in order and providing guidance for the event.
It was getting dark when, to everyone's delight, the judge read the marriage contract and pronounced the classic, "I declare you married in the name of law."
The two kissed each other with unsurpassable love, and we were surprised to see Cordelia, in silent prayer, had become transfigured and crowned with light. Her eyes looked more lucid as in rapture she contemplated her daughter. But yielding to a secret impulse, instead of approaching Evelina, she went towards Zulmira, enlacing her in tears. There was such natural love and spontaneous acknowledgement in the gesture that we were seized by intense emotions. Two material souls in the same vibrations of peace were transfused, drawn together in inner victory by a job well done, enveloped in a wave of tenderness in which she found herself immersed. Zulmira began to weep, overcome with inexpressible happiness, as if some unarticulated melody from heaven had entirely invaded her heart. Right then and there, Amaro, a man touched with living faith, asked Antonina to say a prayer of thanksgiving to Jesus. Antonina did not hesitate. Closing her eyes, she seemed to be reaching out to us in spirit like an antenna attracting a sound wave. Clarencio approached her, and touching her forehead, he began to concentrate. Gently influenced by the minister, our friend prayed in a heartfelt voice. Dear Jesus, bless this time of celebration. We offer it to you as a token of our love and gratitude. Please help our friends who are getting married today turn their hopes into sweet reality.
Teach us, O Lord, to receive into the home the primer of light that you have given to us in the world. the benevolent school of our hearts for life immortal.
This field of struggle enables us to understand the generous sowing of renewal and fraternity in which all of us must learn and serve. May we finally become more like one another's brothers and sisters as we cultivate peace through our efforts for the good. You, who consecrated the happiness of the home at the wedding in Cana, transformed the living water of our sentiments into infallible gifts of work and joy. Reflect your love in the simplicity of our lives, just as the sun is reflected in the drop of humble water. Lead us, O Master, to your heart, which we long for, eternal and supreme for our destinies, and that your goodness may command our lives in our ardent desire, now and forever. So be it. Antonina had finished her prayer. A sweet emotional exhalation hovered over everyone. Deeply touched, Odilia gathered Amaro and Zumila in her arms as if they were children of her soul.
Okay, thanks. So again, there's not much here. They come back to 1 year after Antonina's wedding. They come for the wedding of Lucas and Evelina. Evelina is the daughter of Amaro and Odila. And if you remember, it all started with Evelina with a diverted prayer asking for her mother, Odila, to help her. And Odila was obsessing Zulmira, the second wife. And that's how the whole story started. And what Clarencio mentions to Andre Luiz in the beginning is that because Evelina deserved the help and assistance of the spiritual benefactors, they were going to go there and help her. A prayer is never lost if you address the prayer to a person that is not prepared to receive the prayer. The prayer goes to whoever can help and assist you, and is always kept for the one you prayed for. And when this spirit is ready, you will receive the benefit of the prayer. So a prayer is never lost. So they arrived there at Amaro's house, where Amaro and Zulmira were there, together with Mario and Antonina, and they were all celebrating the new marriage. Lucas is Antonina's nephew in this present incarnation. So everything was going well, and they looked at Odila, remember, the former obsessor, and now she was surrounded by light. She was the priestess, taking care of the home where Zulmira and Amaro lives. So when the judge declared that they were married, Andre Luiz says that they were surprised to see Odila in silent prayer change herself and was surrounded by light. Her eyes looked more lucid as she contemplated her daughter. A sign of the evolution is when we are finally able to produce this inner light, which there is not a clear explanation in our language of what it is, because it's not really a light like we have here, but it's an inner light, the way the best way the spirits can express to us. There is a book, I Came Back, that Brother Jacob, which was Federico Figner, he spends the whole book first jealous of the inner light, the other spirits that he knew had, and finally finding his own inner light by the end of the book, which is in a very beautiful passage in one of the last chapters. It's unfortunate that it's still not translated into English, that book. Anyway, it's interesting when Andre Luiz says that instead of going to embrace her daughter Evelina that was getting married, she went to the one she was obsessing, Zulmira, and embraced her in tears. natural love and spontaneous acknowledgement in the gesture, that the reunion of two maternal souls in the same vibration. Of course, Zulmira felt the energy, began to weep with a happiness that she couldn't express, she couldn't fully understand, but she was being embraced by now an enlightened spirit. And Amaro asks for Antonina for a prayer, and Antonina, which we discussed, is already a more evolved spirit, also incarnated spirit, gives us this beautiful prayer, asking Jesus for the blessing in this time of celebration, asking for the protection, the guidance, and she goes through this beautiful prayer, and then she finishes, and Odila embraces Amaro and Zulmira like they were her own children. Okay, very beautiful, but not much more to say here. Elmo, anything to say here, to add?
No, not much. I think the interesting on Odelia luminosity, as we can put it here, that moment when we say that in the spiritual world we cannot fake ourselves, we cannot pretend to be what we are not, that we are transparent. That's a clear case that she could not hide her happiness. She could not pretend not to be as excited for the moment, because she transformed herself in that excitement. She is that excitement, so to say, with the transformation that she had with her luminosity, so to say, at that moment.
Thanks, Elmo. Okay.
Okay, we'll continue. I looked at Sylvia's wife, from whom the minister had stepped aside, and I recalled the night when I visited her home for the first time. I have never forgotten the excursion on which we were appointed to accompany her on her visit to her little Hulda, when we were completely unaware of the importance of our participation in the upcoming drama we were about to share in. I asked the instructor if he had known about our friend's situation at the time of our first contact.
Yes, he responded kindly, but I didn't let you two know beforehand her significance in the living novel we would be following, because all of us,
my friend, need to realize that toil is our lesson. Let us use our minds and work, and we are here to carry out, and we will receive the key to every enigma. The lesson was extremely important, but I couldn't continue the conversation since Sylvia Clara, embracing Odelia, invited us to return. Amid hugs of farewell, Lucas and Evelina got into the car that would take them to their new life in Sao Paulo. The celebration had ended. I asked our instructor respectfully, is our story going to end like this, with a laughter-filled wedding as in the film with a happy ending? Lorenzo wore the smile of his usual wisdom and replied, no, Andre, the story hasn't ended. What ended was a crisis that gave us reason to learn so many lessons, because of the remarkable effort with which our friends dedicated themselves to their readjustment. They can now have a few years of relative peace in which they can replant the field of their destinies. Later on, however, suffering and trial, infirmity and death will return to test their achievements. Struggle perfects our lives until they become harmonized, struggle-free with the designs of the Lord. The minister could not continue. Our group of dozens of fellow spirits had started back. The firmament was ablaze with fiery flames and could not have been more beautiful. Upon arriving back at the Lago de Bacau, however, we noticed that Odelia was weeping.
That valorous womanly soul had won the battle over herself, but she did not seem very happy about her victory.
Clara had secured a shining
one.
I don't see that's discerning work.
Clara had secured a shining work position for her in a higher sphere, but how our heroine seemed painfully troubled.
As we entered Medina's sanctuary, where we had so often met to examine the problems that had touched us, the minister embraced Odelia and suggested paternally, Odelia, while we are celebrating our victory, tell us what heaven you're looking for. She approached Sister Clara and kissed her hand in a silent gesture of acknowledgement. Then she turned to our instructor and responded humbly, devoted benefactor, my earthly home is my heaven, but you do realize that it no longer belongs to you. Yes, I know that. Still, I want to serve it, even if it doesn't. I love my husband for being my unforgettable companion of life eternal. I bless the wonderful woman to whom he now belongs and whom I have come to love as a daughter of my tenderness. I love my children, even though I know they cannot feel the heat of my heart. God knows that now I love with no intentions of being loved, and that I offer myself without expecting anything in return, so that I may learn with Jesus to give without receiving. Her voice was choked with emotion. On our part, our eyes were filled with tears. Visibly moved, Clarenzo raised her bowed head, stroked her head, her hair, and putting a flower of light on her chest, he exclaimed, wherever our love resides, there shines the heaven we dream of. You deserve the heaven you seek. Return, Odelia, to your home wherever you wish, whenever you wish. Be for your husband and the souls next to him a star every night and a blessing every day. True love has given you that right. Return and love. And when you have risen from the human valley, your heart will be like a ray of
sunlight, bringing to Christ the souls that you will shepherd in the immense field of life.
Odelia knelt down and kissed his venerable hands. Just then a deep longing assailed my oppressed soul. I had the strange feeling of a father searching futilely for the children snatched from his love. Like a bird far from its nest, I was tormented by the longing to recover my own home right away. Hot tears welled up from my heart to my eyes, and afraid of disturbing the harmony reigning there, I went to a nearby garden. Alone, I gazed up at the star-painted night sky. The breeze seemed to be saying, only believe. The fragrance of the flowers around me appealed silently. Don't hesitate. And the twinkling constellations hanging in the heavens gave me the impression of flames of light eternal beckoning to me, urging me without words. Struggle and perfect yourself. The fullness of your love will also shine someday. Then in a prayer of thanksgiving to the Heavenly Father, I perceived that my pacified spirit was smiling once again at the infallible touch of sublime hope.
And that's it.
That's it.
So, Andre Luiz starts talking about remembering when he was looking at Antonina, and that he never forgot the excursion in which they were appointed to accompany her on her visit to her little, not Julio, her little son, Marcos, that had returned to the spiritual world. That's the first time they go there to visit with Antonina, to visit her discarnated son. And we had all the learning experience, what is the encounter of a mother with a discarnated son, and the remembrance that she brings back to her physical life when she comes back, which is not fully remembrance, because otherwise it could be more damaging than helpful. And then Clarencio says that he knew the whole story, but decided not to fully tell the story, the importance of Antonina to both of them. So, you know, they developed the understanding of the work they were to carry by learning step by step. So then Andre Luiz asks Clarencio, so that's the end of the story, like a happy ending on a movie? And Clarencio smiles and says, no, Andre, the story hasn't ended. Of course, their life continued. And because of the effort that they have made, they will find some years of peace where they can prepare better for the future. And of course, later there will be suffering and trials, meaning life of trials and atonements continues. So eventually you have to face the challenges of the physical life, infirmity, death, and all the struggles that are part of our physical life that help us grow and perfect our eternal spirit until we become harmonized with the designs of the Lord, and we will no longer have these struggles. Then when they go back, they arrive back at the spiritual world at a Lar da Bênção, home of blessing. They noticed that Odila was crying. She didn't seem very happy with the end of the story. Clara had arranged for her a nice position in a higher sphere, but Odila didn't seem fully happy. And Clarencio embraces her and asks, what's the heaven you're looking for? Where would you like to be? And she answers that my earthly home is my heaven. And then it's a very beautiful description that she shows us that she is really, she had really learned her lesson, and she understands her role as an eternal evolved spirit. Because when Clarencio tells her that your home, earthly home, no longer belongs to her, she says, yes, I know, but I still want to serve. She loves the husband, the daughter, the son, which originally was her son, Julio, that is now Zulmira's son. And she said, I have come to love Zulmira as a daughter, and she loves with no intention of being loved back, understanding that she's not going to receive a physical return of the love. She's giving her love without expecting anything in return. It's the characteristic of a more evolved spirit. Love, irrespective of receiving it back or not. So she says, I may learn with Jesus to give without receiving. And Clarencio tells her, wherever our love resides, there shines the heaven we dream of. When we reach a certain level of spiritual evolvement, when we are in the spiritual world, we achieve the right to choose our path, to choose where we want to work, to choose where we want to be, to continue our learning, enlightenment, evolution. In the book Missionaries of the Light, when we visit the Regeneration Institute, we learn about the completers, those that fulfill their physical existence to the maximum. So they gain the right to choose their future incarnation and to participate in the future, fully participate in their new reincarnation. When we talk about spirits in the spiritual world, at a certain level of evolution, they can choose their path, like we see Alcione in the book Renunciation, that chooses to reincarnate here on earth to help her loved one Pollux in a mission. She didn't need to reincarnate on earth, and she decides to come here. We learn about Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, one of the more important figures in Spiritism in Brazil, that was offered an opportunity to go work in a more evolved planet, and decided to stay here and continue following the evolution of Spiritism, and continues to give messages first through Francisco Xavier, then through Divaldo Franco, continues to give us beautiful messages and enlightening us on our duties and our obligations here. So Clarencio tells Odila, you stay as a guardian angel of your of the physical home that once was yours, And when your work is finished, you will be able to receive them back in the spiritual world and be reunited with them. And when Andre Luiz starts reflecting about that, he starts getting also overwhelmed, because he starts thinking about his own family that we met in Nosso Lar, the wife that he left behind, that got remarried and abandoned any memory of him, his children that were also not reminded in him very much. And then he started to long for rebuild his own home as soon as possible. And then when he goes to the garden, not to disturb the harmony, a lesson for us here, right? When we are in a place of sublime energy and where happiness is prevailing, and we start having not so blessing thoughts, it's wise for us not to disturb the ambient and remove ourselves from the environment, even if we're not really having negative thoughts, but not so uplifting thoughts. That's what was going through Andre Luiz's mind here, remembering his old home, remembering his family, and the inspiration he received was to believe, to not hesitate, to continue struggling and perfecting himself, and that the fullness of the love will also shine someday. So then he ends talking very interestingly about the prayer of Thanksgiving that we just went through, right? The Thanksgiving Day. That's the prayer of thanksgiving to the Heavenly Father. And he sees that his pacified spirit was in peace once again, smiling once again with sublime hope, which is what we should always aim for. Okay, so that's the end of the book. Elmo, any final comments on the whole book?
Yeah, I said last week at the end, or last month, I'm sorry, at the end, that it seems like the book drives at the end like a cheap Hollywood cinema now, with everything is happiness and everything. Everybody struggle throughout the movie, and at the middle, everybody suffered tremendously, and at the end, everything is happiness for the good ones, and the bad ones have to pay a price for being bad. And I also said that in reality, what is expected, we should expect for ourselves, is a end of happiness. Because if the love is of progress, if you are here making ourselves better continuously, regardless of the struggles that we are facing now, as we put effort to improve ourselves, there is a happy ending waiting all of us. So although it's a cheap Hollywood cinema that I personally dislike, it is what really is awaiting us. But the thing is, the story has not ended. There's many chapters that is not included in this book. The book stops here. The struggles of these individuals continues. There's a lot of question marks over here still to be answered. How is Leonardo going to be when they become teenagers? How well are they going to use the opportunity given to them? We can see over here, we can presume with great confidence that they both will be involved in a home of love, of nurturing. How they're going to use all that is there for them. It doesn't say much in this book about it. We can be pretty certain that they will receive all the necessary tools to make the best use of this opportunity, of this reincarnation. How well are they going to use it? You don't know. And because we are so codependent, their decision makes will affect everyone else. We are parents, and we know the decision that our kids makes affects us. It changes our mood, and it makes us reflect a little bit. So there's many question marks is still to be answered, and only our decisions in our life will be answering that. And unlike the cheap Hollywood cinema, there is no victim and there is no superhero, there is no bad guy and good guy. There is just us responsible to create this happily ever after that awaits us. It's not a given. We have to build it for ourselves. And seems like, at least for now, we see these individuals are in that path. And I like to believe that they are in a strong hold on that path right now, that they will continue on that path. So we are responsible. We're responsible to repair. They done it. They worked on it. They're responsible to use the opportunities given. The ones that we've seen here are making good use of opportunities. It's yet to see how Julio and Leonardo are going to make use of those opportunities, and to have that confidence that if you do our part, we'll going to arrive to that happiness that we await, even though that we are codependent. Again, I mean, things that our loved ones do around us affects us, and then we have to make a decision on how we are going to deal with the things that the decisions that they make, how it's going to affect us. Are we going to allow perhaps bad decisions to distract us, to derail us from the path that we are building from ourselves? And with that, you see here the difference of Odilia, and I think in my interpretation here of Odilia, difference in Odilia and Andre Luiz. You see that Odilia, in order to put all her love out with the amazing progress that she made in this passage of this book that we saw, but her love is still a little bit limited. Her vision of her love is still a little bit limited. She is completely selfless. She has only the intention of giving without expecting in return, but it is still kind of confined yet. She's still not able to expand the entire spiritual family or the entire human family. It's still a little bit confined into that group of spirits yet. And Andre Luiz, when he heard it, when Clarence told her, well, this is what brings you that happiness now. That's where you are right now. That's where you're limited right now. Yes, go and enjoy that moment that you create for yourself. You deserve it. And Andre Luiz seems to be able to have that love, remember the love for that physical family, the incarnate family that you have in the past incarnation, but in a moment of reflection, he was able to expand that. And he was able to say, struggle and perfect yourself. The fullness of your love will also shine someday. That he is now in the path in which he is able to expand his love a little farther out, no longer limited to a group of spirits, which I think we see through his collection and through his messages that he really went above of what Odilia is able to do now.
Okay. Thanks, Elmo. So with that, we finished this book, another one in the collection of Andre Luiz. just for you to have an idea of what we're going to do next.
João, can I ask you something? Was this book written before or after Action and Reaction?
Before.
Before?
Action and Reaction is the next one.
From the series of Andre Luiz.
Yes. So next month we are going to start Action and Reaction.
Oh, okay.
Which is the next one in this series. Okay, that was also dictated by Andre Luiz, and it's a very interesting book. It's 20 chapters. We're going to do one chapter per month, and we'll start with the introduction next month. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Next Sunday we'll be studying the Gospel according to Spiritism. We finished the book last month, but Elmo is going to do a special study of a passage of the Gospel next week, next Sunday. Okay. Carol, can you do a final prayer?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Elmo. And thank you, Sarita, for reading today and everyone who has been participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the book Between Heaven and Earth, chapters 39 and 40. Forgiveness and sincere love is the recipe for positive actions to lessen the suffering from prior lives. Forgiveness is the victory of light as a starter. The divine law always does what is best and governs the process of transition. Purification requires effort, sacrifice, patience, and responsibility, which takes time during the readjustment journey during an incarnation. The law of progress helps all of us evolve with hope over many centuries. Free will is part of this process, and we must make decisions that hopefully do not derail us when we are on earth among our family and those who we must work through the past problems and sufferings. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all the participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.